Welcome in, everyone. I hope you guys are doing great wherever you're watching from today. We have some breaking news. As of December 9th, fighter jets have been scrambled by a key U.S. ally against a wave of Russian bombers, Chinese bombers, and fighter jets that entered their air defense zone in the early morning hours of December 9th. We are still gathering information, but this is the latest provocation by the Russians and the Chinese as world tensions continue to soar in Europe, in Asia, South America. We've got problems across the globe, and it is quite clear to anyone paying attention that this whole situation could pop off at any moment, any given time. It takes one incident to spark a chain reaction, and now we have Russians and Chinese bombers I shouldn't say breaching the airspace, breaching the air defense zone of a critical U.S. ally in Asia. So we are going to get into exactly what happened, where we go from here, what we should read into this, and much more. Before we get into it, as always, please make sure to like and subscribe. Totally free. Huge boost to the channel. Comment with your thoughts below. Get active in the comments. Let's hear your thoughts. How should Russian and Chinese bombers be treated? How should the United States and our allies in the region get involved? How do we stop these provocations by the Chinese and the Russians? Let me know in the comments below. Hit that notifications bell. All notifications turned on. You won't miss a thing. Right here, Instagram, David_Hookstead, X D Hookstead. That's where you can find me on social media. My DMs are wide open. Reach out with any tips you got. And then in the video description and pinned comment, you can find the link to our exclusive members only access benefits and more. Now, let's get into it. We have seen the Russians and the Chinese both conduct a series of provocations in the recent weeks. For Russia, they continue to fly drones all over NATO airspace. They flew drones over a French naval base where there are nukes housed. The French opened fire on those drones. It is not clear whether or not they landed in the ocean, whether or not they got away. We do not know. They also flew drones into Ireland, targeting Zelensky's plane when he was there for a state visit. They also targeted our nuke site in Belgium, as well as flying drones into Estonia, Poland, Romania. They flew fighter jets into Estonia. They flew fighter jets into Lithuania. The Chinese are also behaving in a serious provocative fashion. They locked on to some Japanese fighter jets not that long ago, just a few days ago. I made a video about that the other day. So both of the countries, the rogue regimes, if you will, are trying to flex their muscles. And since the start of the Ukraine war, the Russians and the Chinese have grown increasingly closer. They do military exercise. They share technology. They share weapons. They share intelligence. So those two have turned into a friendship of convenience, if you will, because make no mistake about it, first possible chance that either one of those two countries has to knife the other one in the back, they will absolutely do it. But for now, it is advantageous for both sides to be working together, and that includes conducting military attack simulations together, which is what occurred on the morning of December 9th. So I'm going to add this to the stage. It says 2 Chinese and 7 Russian military aircraft, including long-range bombers and fighter jets, entered South Korea's air defense identification zone this morning at around 10 a.m. local time. So again, I'm filming this on December 9th. Over the waters to the south and east of the Korean Peninsula while operating over the Sea of Japan, fighters with the Republic of Korean Air Force were scrambled in response to the intrusion, the first such incident to have occurred since November 2024, in preparation for a possible accidental situation, according to the South Korean Joint Chiefs. So what you see here, according to this report, is that multiple jets entered and bombers entered the South Korean air defense zone and sparked a massive response by the South Korean military, who scrambled fighter jets against the Russian bombers and fighters and Chinese bombers and fighters. It's not clear at this time which country had its bombers up, which country had its fighters up, if it was a mix of both. We don't know at this time, but we're going to get into the air capabilities of both countries here shortly. So now I'm going to put this up on the screen for you. This comes from Bloomberg. Says South Korea scrambles jets as Chinese Russia warplanes approach. Again, this was published on December 9th, the morning of December 9th when I'm filming this. It says South Korea deployed military aircraft after 7 Russian warplanes and 2 Chinese aircraft. So Russia was carrying the bulk of the warplanes, entered an air identification zone maintained by Seoul, escalating tensions in a region already strained by ongoing diplomatic rift between Beijing and Tokyo. The planes entered and exited the air zone known as KADIZ above waters off the Korean Peninsula's eastern and southern coast on Tuesday and did not violate South Korea's territorial airspace. South Korea's Joint Chiefs of Staff said our military detected the Chinese and Russian aircraft before they entered the KADIZ and deployed fighter jets to take tactical measures in preparation for any contingencies. The JCS said in a statement, the air zone is an area where aircraft are supposed to identify themselves as they approach. The flights add to regional tensions already elevated following allegations that Chinese fighter jets train their fire control radar on Japanese military aircraft amid an ongoing diplomatic dispute over Taiwan. It says the joint Chinese-Russian flights also came just days after the release of a White House national security strategy that delivers sharp criticism towards traditional U.S. allies and emphasizes domestic and culture war issues. In the document, North Korea is not mentioned, while references to geopolitical rivals Russia and China are notably muted compared to the 2017 security strategy issued by President Donald Trump's first term. When China is referenced, the strategy primarily urges U.S. allies in Asia to increase defense spending, including to help defend Taiwan. So those are the details. The bombers and fighter jets entered into that area. South Korea flooded the skies with fighter jets in case this attack was real. They were ready to engage, on high alert to shoot them down. Now, in terms of the fighter or the bomber aircraft in the Russian arsenal and in the Chinese arsenal, you have a few options for what the planes could have been. You have the Tupolev 295, which is, of course, known as the Bear. That plane was first introduced in 1956. It's crazy that we got planes that old that still fly. So this is probably the most famous Russian bomber, of course, was the backbone of the Soviet air attack. So right there, you see the Tupolev 95. They produced hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of these planes. You also have the Tupolev 222. That was introduced in 1972. This one is a supersonic variable sweep wing long-range strategic and maritime strike bomber developed by the Tupolev Design Bureau in the 1960s. So you can see the supersonic bomber here. As to where the other was propeller run. So that is the Tu-22. The Russians also have the Tu-160, which is known as the Blackjack, another supersonic bomber. This one was introduced in April of 1987. See it right there. And then the Chinese bomber is the H-6, known as the War God. And I'll put this up here for you. That was introduced in 1969. You can see it right here. So those are the bombers in the arsenals of both countries. And this comes right after, put this up for you. It says China fighter. This was from 3 days ago. China fighter jets locks radar on Japan planes in row over Taiwan. It says Chinese and Japanese ties already frayed by Prime Minister Sanae Takachi's comments on Taiwan came under further strain this weekend after a Chinese fighter jet trained fire control radar on Japanese military jets for the first time. The incident is set to fuel further fuel tensions between the two nations, sparked by the Japanese premier comments last month suggesting that Tokyo could deploy its military with other nations should China attack Taiwan. The two countries gave afflicting accounts of the events, with Tokyo claiming a Chinese fighter jet locked radar on its planes over international waters on Saturday, and Beijing accusing Japanese jets of disrupting its air training. This is extremely unfortunate. We protested to China and demanded measures to prevent a reoccurrence. Takachi said on Sunday, we will respond calmly and firmly. China's foreign ministry accused Japan of leveling a false accusation and trying to build up tensions and mislead the community. China does not accept the so-called protest from the Japanese side and has rejected it on the spot and lodged counter-protest in Beijing and Tokyo. So they locked on Chinese fighter jets, locked on to Japanese fighter jets just days ago, and now Chinese and Russian fighter jets and bombers are flying right up to South Korea and sparking a South Korean response by scrambling fighter jets against the Russian and Chinese aircraft. So I'm going to pull this off the screen. What this says and how we should read into this is China and Russia's been doing this for a long time. China to a certain degree too, but not as much. They are going to poke and prod and push the envelope as far as they can to see what they can get away with. South Korea is one of our greatest allies. It is an incredible country full of incredible people, and it has a highly sophisticated and highly advanced military that is armed by the United States, flying advanced aircraft. They have advanced naval ships. They have well-trained, well-equipped, well-fed, and well-paid troops. They do have conscription there, I still believe, and they are ready for a fight. The problem is they're not a large country compared to China, small in land and much smaller in population. So all that has to be taken into account. What we have to do is recognize that these countries, China and Russia, are going to try to get away with whatever they can. Now, I'm not saying you shoot down planes that have not violated your airspace, because the air defense zone is, I think, 200 miles out. So it's not nearly as close as the 12 miles that extend where your airspace starts immediately. And that is where you can engage planes without hesitation if you want to in a violation of airspace. What you got to do is you got to have strong deterrence. You have to send a clear message to the Chinese and the Russians. We're not going to let you get away with this. We're not going to let you fly your planes in our airspace and do whatever you want or near our airspace. That means you got to scramble fighters. That means you got to get planes in the air to escort them away. And the fact of the matter is this: South Korea has much more advanced fighter jets than what China can bring to the fight or what Russia can bring to the fight. China and Russia have larger numbers. South Korea has better technology. Plus, there are American troops and American Air Force pilots, and I even believe F-35s in South Korea. So in the event it went to a shooting war in the air, South Korea would be in good position to hold its own. Japan would be in good position to hold its own. But U.S. forces in the region would absolutely start annihilating certainly Russian jets and absolutely probably as well Chinese jets. It's at that point, it would kind of turn into a numbers game. But you can't tolerate this. You can't let them do it. You can't let them go unchecked. You got to get planes up in the air. Let them know we see you, we hear you, we know where you are. We're not going to let you get close to our airspace, and then back them off as fast as you can. And that is what South Korea did by scrambling its fighter jet. So I applaud them. That was the right call to make. Hopefully it sends the message this won't be tolerated. But I want to know what you guys think. Let me know in the comments below. What do you think of South Korea scrambling fighter jets against China and Russian bombers? Let me know how you think this should be responded to in the comments below. Please make sure to like and subscribe. Totally free. Cost you guys absolutely nothing at all. Huge boost to the channel. Hit that bell. All notifications turned on. You won't miss a thing. And then right here on the bottom of the screen, Instagram, David_Hookstead. X D Hookstead. That's where you can find me on social media. My DMs are wide open. Feel free to reach out with any tips you got or to say hello. And you can find our members only link in the video description and in the pinned comment. Please make sure to check out my Tuesday night live tonight. I'll see you all next time.